Okay. I am going to forward another document to you. At the state level, we're working on pulling some numbers, and this would be a good document for you to have just for general program information when you're asked by your administrators. So I am going to upload it, but I'm also going to send it to each one of you so that you have it. We're actually going to go through this document I'm sending you first. That just reviews general data elements. And I'm going to pull that up first. Okay, so the purpose of the meeting today is to show you how this data was pulled for your program profiles so that you're in a position to evaluate your own programs and easily pull this information. There's a fair amount of work involved in it, but I think going through this process today will help you understand what you're pulling, where you're pulling it from, how to pull it, and then how you can use that to evaluate your program outcomes. So this was the first year we have done program profiles, and this was obviously the end result, but can everyone see my screen? It's called Adult Education and Literacy Data Elements. You can see that. Okay. So these are some elements we're pulling together at the state level, and these are good data elements for you to have at the local level too, for program administrators. And I think over the years there's been some questions about how do I get my total to walk through the door, and then begin disaggregating from that. So we're going to start with this document and then move into program profiles. That first bullet point, the number who could benefit, that would be at your local program. Those numbers are provided of students of people 18 to 24 in your community college region with less than a high school diploma. And those are 5-year averages. And then there's an additional number. It's the number of people in your community college region 25 years or older with less than a high school diploma. I have those numbers illustrated there for this state, and that funding formula is posted on the DE website, so all you need to do is go find your college for that. But I want to move down to current numbers served, because I want to show you how to pull some basic numbers out of TE when you're looking for those numbers and need them. It's pretty quick to access that. So I'm going to actually log into Rolling Hills. For those of you who are on our normally scheduled Adobe Connect, this should be somewhat review for you because we went over the Federal Tables Monitor report at the last Adobe Connect Pro session. So hopefully this will start looking familiar. Can everyone see my TE screen for Rolling Hills? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. Alright, thank you, Brenda. Alright, so we're going to pull the current number served. And by current number, this means everyone that was served in program year 2013. And we're going to do this by running the Federal Tables Monitor report. And we're going to use the Federal Tables Monitor for program profiles a lot, so feel free to run this on your own as well. In TE, if you don't want to take copious notes for today, make sure that you're saving all of your reports, because then you can go to Reports Manager without having to read the parameters that you set. To save those reports, you should all have this set anyway. Go to TE and go to Options. Then select Reports. And where it says Auto Delete Reporting Sessions, that should say Never. Once you get that selected, you can say OK at the bottom. It's going to archive all of the reporting sessions you run today out of your own database. So I'm going to select OK. After today, if you're wondering which reports you ran today, because it'll be pretty intense, if you just go to Reports and Reports Manager, it's going to give you a list of every report you ran today. It will also save that report with the parameters you set within the report, so you won't have to remember what you did as long as you did it correctly the first time. So maybe I'll think about releasing some instructions if I have some time to put them together. But if you follow along, you'll have these reports saved in Reports Manager under your login. Okay, so we're going to pull the total number served for the Rolling Hills Adult Agency. And you do that by running Federal Tables Monitor reports, NRS Tables Monitor. If I'm going too quickly or too slowly, please let me know. I want to go slowly enough so that you capture this or can follow along. Then in Federal Tables Monitor, I'm going to run the report for everyone that was served in program year 2013. So I came down to program years and changed my program year to 2013. I'm going to leave all the other defaults as they are. I'm just going to explain a couple. We're going to include both dropped and qualified students, because we want to get an accurate reflection of everyone who walked through the door that day. So if they were dropped because they didn't have a date of birth, they will still be listed on this table as long as the defaults remain the same. We're not going to exclude anyone for a drop reason. Again, we want the total number who walked through the door. So I'm going to be exporting to Excel a lot today. My file name so that and change that to Excel. Can everyone hear me all right? couple of you are having trouble. Okay, thanks. I will proceed then. If anyone's having trouble hearing me, let me, just a second here, let me. The screen keeps cutting out. Okay. Is this any better? I just unplugged and replugged. Hopefully that'll help. Trudy, is that an internet connection? Okay. Can everyone see my TE screen? Okay. Just a second here.
I don't know.
Okay. Thanks. Just a second. We're checking my connections with my computer.
See, I don't have one.
Yeah.
So I can't talk.
All right. Sorry. Thanks. Okay. Okay, now are you able to see my screen? Thank you, Terry. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to back up then. Okay, so I'm on the parameters screen of the Federal Tables Monitor report. Just to review, I went to Reports, Federal Reports, NRS Tables Monitor. And I clicked on that, and then my parameters screen showed up. Thanks, Trudy. Okay, just to review, the default was current program year, and I changed it to program year 13. Left the defaults for programs. And then I came down just to show you that you're including both dropped and qualified students. So if a student was missing a date of birth, they were dropped from the final federal tables, but they're included in your total enrolled. And you leave all the drop reasons selected defaulted. And then I went to generate. And the tables monitor screen pulls up. Once that's up, I'm going to export it to Excel. And I like to rename mine to something that's useful. So I'm just going to call this my 2013 Federal Tables Monitor Report. And then I'm going to change my file type to Excel. And then I'm going to save it. Okay, and I will share that in just a second here. So once you export, you're going to get an Excel document that looks like this, and it'll open automatically. The easiest way to find your total enrollment is simply to highlight the first column. If you look in the lower left-hand corner, lower right-hand corner, got a total of 322 rows, so you have 321 enrolled. Your first column is a header, obviously. So for the Rolling Hills Agency, the total enrollment for 2013 was 321 students. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. And I'm just going to stay with the 2013 database for the total served right now. And this would be everyone with 12 hours of instruction and a pretest who qualifies for Table 4. You all should be familiar with running Table 4, but I will go ahead and run it right now. Darla, it was non-duplicated by program, within program, I'm sorry, but duplicated if a student is in more than one instructional program. But what TE does, that's a great question. I'm going to show you how to unduplicate that. Okay, so what TOPS Pro does is it recognizes everybody within an instructional program, and it's actually going to take the lowest instructional program for reporting on Federal Table 4. But in the Federal Tables Monitor Report, what it does is if I enroll in an ESL program, you'll see my enrollment in that. And if I enroll in an ABE program, because or a GED, high school diploma program, because I've topped out at 236 or so, it will also have me in that. If you want to unduplicate at the student level, you need to go to student social security number. So let me scroll over here. In this case, it's student ID. And if you go to data, remove duplicates. Duplicates within the student ID field and say OK. So we had 321 to begin with. 3 of those students were enrolled in more than one program. So we have 318 unique student IDs. Okay, so I will demonstrate that again. Thanks for letting me know. Alright, so I'm pulling up the Federal Tables Monitor Excel document that we just exported. Can you all see that? Thank you. Okay. So the way I'm going to unduplicate this, I've highlighted my cursor over column H in student ID. Then I went to data, remove duplicates, and then I deselect all because it's giving me all of my column headers. I scroll down and select student ID and say OK. Can you all see that message? It says 3 duplicate values found and removed, 318 unique values remain. Hopefully you can see that, but when you do this on your own, that's the message you will get. Excellent, Marcel. Thank you. Okay. So does everybody understand what we just did? We just exported everybody from Rolling Hills who walked in the door in 2013, who you put into TE. And we unduplicated if any students were enrolled in more than one instructional program. And we were left with a final enrollment number of 318. If you think of things like Darla brought up today, be sure to remind me so we can go through those. That was a great question, Darla. Okay, so the next thing in the AEL data elements document I sent to you, with a total number being served, it says being served now, but we're going to interpret that as program year 13, and that would be table 4. That's everybody with 12 hours in a pretest. So I'm going to review how to run that. Should be standard, but we'll make sure that you know what you're doing here. So this is table 4, something you should be running frequently, at a minimum monthly to check your outcomes, but more often than that if you can. So to run table 4, we'll go to reports, federal reports, NRS tables 1 through 12. When that pulls up on the navigator on the left side, go to report selection, deselect all, select only table 4, and then generate. Table 4 gives you an idea of retention and persistence, and average hours of instruction, and level completions. Can you all see table 4? Maybe not. Maybe. Okay, thanks, Marcel. Okay, I don't have it as an option to select for some reason to share. Try one more time. Okay, for some reason it will not allow me that option to share. Okay, let me try now. There we go. Alright, so we've got table 4 displayed, and the Rolling Hills agents demographics required have been entered, so you're not missing a date of birth, so forth. Got your total attendance hours, the number who completed. But for purposes of this, we'll talk more about table 4 later. I just want to give you a way to run who you're currently serving, or served last year or the previous year, or whichever files you're pulling. The next one we're going to review is the number of secondary school diplomas or equivalents. And I'm going to demonstrate this out of NRS Pro because that's our database right now. That will change, of course, in the future. So let me log into NRS Pro. For purposes of this discussion, I'm focusing on fiscal year or program year only. Okay, and all of you who have access to NRS Pro should know how to run this, but I'm going to show you. So let me share my NRS Pro screen. Okay. So the next data element was the number of secondary school diplomas or equivalents. And I'm going to run this for program year 2013. Yes, Trace, I'm recording the audio, and my sound is still breaking out. I'm not sure why. Is it enough to keep going, or should we pause it and I'll find out from IT what's going on? Some can hear me, some can't, so I think I'm going to keep going and then I'll check the audio when we're finished and make sure that it's comprehensible. Okay, how about now? Can you see my NRS screen? Okay, great. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to run all of the, in this case, GEDs issued last program year. So I go down to Custom Record Selection and click the little icon. There are two parameters that I want. One is GED status. I'm going to add that requirement. And I want the status that equals passed. That's all I want for the purposes of this report. I'm going to add a second requirement called last tested date range. I'm going to add that requirement. Since I'm running it for fiscal year 2013, my parameter dates are going to be July 1st through June 30th. July 1st of 2012 through June 30th of 2013. And that's all I need for this report. I click on Select Records.
Wow, I think he's over.
And all I do is come up here and look and see there were 3177 who tested within that date range. In Iowa's case, I just come well, I'll just leave it at that. I just look at the basic number. So I'm looking at one of 15 records of a total of 3,177 that we ran for the state of Iowa, or the students that passed for the state of Iowa during that fiscal year. One thing to remember when you run that data from NRS Pro, at least I'll just put this out there even though we won't be using it that much longer. Any records that weren't scanned or completed or entered into NRS Pro that are done so at a later date could change these numbers. This is a live database, so if something occurred last year and wasn't scanned until this year, that number will obviously change. So if you see variations, I know, Brenda, I apologize. Just a second here. Okay, we'll see if that's better. Darla, I don't have the answer to that yet. That's something we'll have to explore because obviously we need another option. So, my suggestion to you for NRS Pro, before it goes away, is go ahead and run this for several program years just for your own records so that you have it via, Alex has got some suggestions. Okay. So Alex says the goal is to have a state database that will provide that information. Marshall says, could you not use the site and date range in the top area and choose the completed group? That may be a possibility, Marshall. I haven't run it that way, so I can't say for sure. Something you could certainly try, though. Alex is typing something else here. And Alex says, we are hoping to have inbuilt search parameters. So that's in development, and Alex will keep you up to speed on that as it progresses. Okay, so we covered bullet 2 under current outcomes and services. Obviously, if you have a adult high school equivalency diploma program that you run through your college, you would need to add those numbers to, in this case, the GEDs that were passed. So if you've issued an adult credential through your college, that would be in addition to the number of GEDs that were issued. Okay, another thing that stakeholders are looking at are prison and jail programs to reduce recidivism. This is a really simple run. It's just table 6. So we're going to run table 6 out of TE. And it's just the way we ran table 4. If you go to reports, federal reports, NRS tables 1 through 12. Once that pops up, you go to report selection on the navigator and deselect all. Select table 6 and generate. Can you all see table 6? Table 6, all the tables I'm running today are used extensively in program profiles. So we're just going through just a basic step-by-step on, so you're familiar with what you're looking at. So on table 6, you have your number of employed, unemployed, not in the labor force. That equals table 4 totals. In fact, all your tables are subsets of all students reported on table 4 in the total enrolled column. And I came down here to institutional programs. So in correctional facilities refers to everybody who's in a state corrections program. And that would be limited to the 5 community colleges who have a Department of Corrections contract and administer the adult ed programs in their correctional facilities. The one underneath that refers to everybody in community corrections programs. So all colleges have the potential, at least, of serving students in community corrections programs. That includes people who walk in your door or if you're having classes at the jail, people from halfway houses, whether they come into your center or you're running the program at the halfway house, any work release program that's not state affiliated, and so on. So you can see in this case, Rolling Hills does not have anybody coded as state or community corrections. But you find that information on table 6. Okay. The number of unemployed served is also on table 6. Scroll back up. So the number of unemployed for program year, this is 14, I didn't change my program year date. The number of unemployed is 70. If you need to see who those students are, you can. Now the last 2, I probably shouldn't have put them on there because it talks about the percentage who got jobs and retained jobs. This data obviously is 2 years behind, and it doesn't come out until the funding formula is released. So you don't know how many actually obtained the match and got a job and retained a job until December, and then we run that match again March of the following year. So you're already 3/4 into a new program year before you got the number for retained jobs, just by virtue of when that information is available and the NRS requirements for matching. But I did go ahead and add that because it's a different number than those who are unemployed. We don't run a match on all unemployed to see who got jobs. We've only run the match on those who set it as a goal. And then in 13, that match will be run on those who are placed in the get a job cohort and retain a job cohort. All right, so I'm going to close this out, and we're going to go through the program profile template. And I'm just going to indicate where you can find this information, how you can fill these in. So let me pull up that template, just one moment, please. Okay. So we're going to work through the Program Profiles template, and I'm going to use the Rolling Hills database for program year 2013. And I'm just going to go through this and fill out the information. I'm going to also tell you where the information can be found. So under total grant funds for federal funding, obviously you can find that in your allocation letter for whichever program year you're working with. This might be something, a document you'd like to take notes on. We're in. Coordinator, whoever. I'll just put my name in there. Number of programs sites. We're going to get that information out of TE. And this is obviously built every year when you activate new sites or continue with existing sites. So to get your total sites for a program year, okay, thanks, Trudy. I'll try that again. Can you see my screen now? Okay. Well, we'll see if this works. Okay. So I opened up TE and went to reports, federal reports. Actually, I'm going to do this a different way. I'm going to run this a different way. We're going to go to records and students in program years. So I can filter by site within the program year. So since we're running this for 13, I'm going to select the program year as 2013. Say OK. Total number of sites in this case, 10. So I'm going to go back to my profiles document and put in 10. As long as you're in the correct program year, there's probably 8 different ways you can find sites, but I did it by filtering within the program year. So we have 10 sites at Rolling Hills in 2013. Okay, for community needs, we already discussed on the data elements section where you can find the students in your region 18 to 24 with less than a high school diploma, and students in your region 25 years or older with less than a high school diploma. And you can look at the funding formula and get the state's calculation of the 5-year rolling average. This is taken from the American Community Survey. And if we need to have an Adobe Connect on this, we can talk about it. I can certainly run one and show you how to pull 1-year estimates and 5-year estimates for the counties in your region. The best way to find this information, though, is off of the funding formula, because what we do is we calculate your percentage of a county, that you may share with a surrounding district. DMAC has 30% of the same county, and Southwestern has 40% of that county. You take the total number of students without a high school diploma in that age range and multiply it by 0.3, 0.3, and 0.4 for the respective colleges. That's the oversimplified view of how we get that. But in this case, the other thing in the funding formula, when you take a look at your region, you'll see your percent of the state total. So in this case, Rolling Hills has 2,247 students. That's a 5-year rolling average of the adults 18 to 24, actually. I'm sorry, that's 18 to 64 with less than a high school diploma. That 2,247 is the sum total of the 18 to 24-year-olds and 25 plus without, because those are 2 separate data sets and have to be run separately for that formula. And the percent of the state total is 6%. So there were roughly, 120,000 that year. The other ACS data that we provide is the adult population in your region who speak English less than very well. The actual data set is those 5 years or older who speak English less than very well. And I can't remember the state totals, approximately 90,000. And Rolling Hills, in this case, has 3.8% of the state total. So, okay. Now we're going to go down to program enrollment and student demographics. And we're going to use Federal Tables Monitor for this section. And there are several steps to this, so we're just going to progress little by little and work our way through it. Is everyone clear so far how we're getting this information and where you're pulling it from? Do you need more explanation, less? Want me to go faster, slower? These are all data elements that ultimately you should be using to fill out your program profiles as you're going along. So they're going to help with program evaluation. Okay. All right, so in order to complete the program enrollment and student demographics section, we're going to run Federal Tables Monitor, and I'm just going to go through those steps on how to do that again. Okay, can you all see my TE screen? I hope. Alright, so to run Federal Tables Monitor, I'm going to go to Reports, Federal Reports, MRS Tables Monitor. I'm going to run it for program year 2013. And I'm going to leave the defaults. I want all students included because I'm looking for total enrolled or total scanned. So I selected my program year and I click on Generate. Thanks, Mary and Terry. Okay, so when Federal Tables Monitor pulls up, I click on Export, and that comes up. Change that to 2013 FTM so I know what year I'm working with. And then I'm going to save the file type as Excel because I want to be able to work with that document. And then click Save. Okay, once that pulls up, okay, just give me a second. Okay, so we're looking at everybody who walked through the door for adult basic education. I'm actually going to hide some columns that aren't useful to me and aren't useful for demonstration. I don't need students. The only thing I need is the TE instructional program. If you recall from our mini trainings, the first thing that determines whether or not a student is eligible for Federal Tables is if that student has a program enrollment. So I'm on let me undo that because I'm going to unduplicate. My voice is gone. Can you hear me now? Thanks, Trudy. Appreciate it. So I'm going to go unduplicate my enrollment. I'm going to select the student ID column H, select data. I'm going to remove duplicates, expand the selection, deselect all, select student ID, and OK. So we've got 318 enrolled. Now I'm going to go through and hide my columns into column M. I just simply scroll across the top and hold down hide. Because I'm looking for program enrollment. If I highlight column M and select filter, I'm going to deselect all because all I want are basic skills and high school diploma. Oh, I'm sorry, just basic skills. This will be interesting because their Rolling Hills database looks like they code school diploma, and if you code it, GED. So you would select all ABE only for that. So when I do that, it doesn't look like there are many, but apparently that's right. Everybody who's walked in my door and enrolled in the ABE program, the total is 15. So that would be in my total scanned. Option to select high school diploma or GED. I won't run that right now. Okay, no voice again. Thanks. Thanks, okay. But we'll go ahead and do this for ESL. So I selected the filter, unselected basic skills, selected ESL. Say OK. And I've got 303 students enrolled in ESL who walked in the door. It's regardless of hours of instruction, missing data, and so forth. There are students apparently who walked into this program who didn't code an instructional program. Maybe not. Okay. I didn't think that was possible, and apparently it's not. So. I'm going to highlight this again so you can see where we are with ESL. We've got a total of 303 who've walked in the door for ESL. And if we take a look at our program profiles template, I'm going to add those numbers in right now. So the total number in ABE is 15. Total number in GED ESL is 0. Total number in, adult high school diploma in GED is 0. And the total number in ESL is 313.
I'm going to print one of these off, Jeremy. Help you.
And I'm just going to total this column. Go to home and click auto sum.
Oh, did they?
Okay. That's everyone who walked through the door. Now I'm going to go back and find all the students in my adult basic ed program with a pretest. So go back to my federal tables monitor report.
Very diligent, yeah. They talk about how they
Anybody who has a pretest score and a pretest form, if I take a look, I could sort actually date, score, or form. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and do form. And obviously, I could count that. But I'm going to go to filter. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, I've got a total number of 5 pretests. I can also filter this out. Oops. Find my filter here first. I only want ABE. I'm not going to remove that filter, Trudy. And I want to remove all the blanks. And that leaves me with 5 tests. So I've got 5 students out of my 15 who have a pretest. Thanks, Trudy. So as I go through the profiles, I just go back to my original document and make sure I get all this information in there. So I'll take you back to profiles. Five of my students have a pretest. Now I'm going to look for my students with a post-test match. This will be fairly simple for ABE since we only have 5, and I don't believe there were any post-tests so far. Oops, wrong screen, just a second. Okay. So I have one pre-post-test match. This is where program knowledge is going to be important. So you need to be able to take a look at this and say, the student started with a pretest on 10/7. Obviously, Rolling Hills was not following Iowa guidelines, likely, or maybe they will. Maybe they did. They had 74 hours apparently in a week. I'm not sure how they did that, but anyway, the post-test was a 15M. It's a level up. It's the same modality, math. So that student did have a post-test. So 1 out of 5 students has a post-test in this case. And I'm going to go ahead and check for the gain right now. The pretest score was a 230. The post-test score was a 220. So there was no gain in. Get that information in. So we had one student with a pre-post match, no gain. We don't have any people in the high school diploma or GED program, so I'm going to fill those out right now. Everyone is categorized either as ABE or ESL. So I'm going to say OK. I'm going to highlight my column. And if I look down here, I have a total of 40 students who have a pre-test in ESL. So 3 have in ESL. So I need to get moving with that. If I have no post-tests, I obviously have no gains. Can you see?
Adobe's lagging terribly. And I can tell it's Adobe. I'm sending you a text and it's not getting to you for a delayed time. There.
All right. Can you hear me now, Brenda? Okay, they lost me again. Okay, now you can hear me. We'll see how this recording turns out. I guess I'll redo the recording and independent of having a meeting, and then post that and let you all know. Okay, I'm pulling up the program profiles document again, so just give me a second. Brenda, I actually started doing that, and it's a huge document. I'm not sure. Okay, so my program profile template. I'm going to put in, I had 40 students, ESL students with a pre-test. I had no students with a post-test, so obviously I have no students with a gain. I'm going to go ahead and total these columns. So far, Rolling Hills isn't doing so well. But we got our information in. There for a minute, get some just general feedback. Evaluate your outcomes. One thing we know about Rolling Hills, they're doing very poorly with their pre and post testing. Another thing I say as far as evaluation goes is they may need to consider using ABE and the ASE column for program coding. obviously, Table 4. Well, right now I'm completing it, Terry. It's certainly something, at the bare minimum, you need to know how we came about these numbers. Terry asked something that the individual coordinators are going to have to complete. Maybe Alex could weigh in on that too. The purpose of this is to let you know where these numbers were derived from, how we obtain them, the way to export reports to run them. The purpose of this, Terry, is to show you where I got these numbers from last year. Couple things to keep in mind. I used the Iowa point-in-time database actually I used TOPS Pro for 2012. For 2013, those numbers will come out of the point-in-time database, which means that I don't go to eTestsOnline.org. I've got a backup of everything that occurred in 2013. So I've sent out several emails to coordinators and to TE specialists to remind coordinators that at the end of the year on June 30th, or whenever your last bit of information goes into TE, you need to run tables 1 through 12. You need to export them all. I would recommend PDF, but especially Excel, and keep them somewhere. Just call it Program Year Federal Reporting. For now, I'm going to include in that statement every additional table that I show you how to export to Excel. So Federal Tables Monitor is critical. And I used to have Eunice export that for me every year, and I've exported it every year since it's been at the state level. Because that gives us basic information about what's going on with the programs. That was a good question. Okay. All right, so I'm going to this by now. I'm going to change the program year to 13 and go to Report Selection, deselect all, select my Table 4 and generate. Okay, so you all should be looking at Table 4. I don't know if you recall, but on the profiles, student characteristics that we just completed, I said Table 6 was a subset of Table 4 and should total the number on Table 4. You can see employed was 0, unemployed was 0, not in labor force was 23, which is our total number enrolled in column B on Table 4. So if you haven't coded an employment goal, they are not eligible for Table 4, and they drop off. And that's exactly what's happened here. So out of the 318 unduplicated students, only 23 are eligible for reporting. And that is due in part to the fact that only 23 had a labor force status upon entry. Does that make sense to everybody? Just illustrating a data integrity point here. Thanks, Brenda. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, so when I go to Table 4, this gives me my total number enrolled by the 4 ABE categories, the 2 ASE categories, and the 6 ESL categories. Also gives me my total attendance hours. So we're going to focus on these two first. So when I take a look at this, in my ABE beginning lit category, I have 0, in beginning basic 1, intermediate low 0, intermediate high 1, ASC low 0, ASC high 0. In beginning literacy ESL, I have 4, low beginning 7, high beginning 6, low intermediate 4, high intermediate 0, and ESL advanced 0. I might have cut ESL advanced off your program profile template, so if I did, feel free to add it back in. My attendance hours, I'm going to go through those too. I could export this as an Excel and copy and paste, but right now there's so few, I'm just going to write them. It's probably a better idea. It's always less likely you'll make mistakes if you export it as Excel and copy and paste, but this is taking a while, so I'm just writing down the numbers. 244 in low intermediate, 0 hours of instruction in high intermediate, 0 in advanced. That should total 1355. Okay. So I'm going to take this information back over to my program profiles document. I'm going to total my columns. In the going to add a formula so I can get my average hours per level. If I just double click on that, it'll copy my formula down. And copy that formula and paste it here. If I double click on that cell, it'll copy that formula down all the way. And I've got 59 hours of instruction average for my ESL students. Okay, so we'll move on to was there still a glitch, Brenda, or was that, I'm sorry, I just read that. Was that after I fixed it? Let's see, I made an error on this, which is why you should copy and paste. Sure, I'll show the formula one more time. Just give me a second, Brenda. I'm not sure what screen I'm showing right now. Just a second. Okay. Let me just show that formula one more time. I think I did it backwards to begin with. So the average hours per level on table 4 for all those who are pre-tested. Take the total number of hours divided by the total number of students. Here's my formula here. So it's hours divided by students. This just equals sum C67 divided by B67. And once I put that formula in, I don't know if you can all can see that little box right there. And if I just double click on it, then it pastes my formula down through ASE High. And then I simply went to auto sum for my total. Now, if you noticed on table 4, the total number of hours of instruction were 1,355. 1269 plus 86 equals 1355. My total enrolled were 23. 21 plus 2 is 23. On to pre-post tested total hours and the percentage right there. I'm going to do that by running table 4B. Okay, so can you all see my TE screen, hopefully? No? Okay, just a second here. Okay. I'm going to go to reports, federal reports, NRS tables 1 through 12. For B and generate. So as you recall, Table 4 is everybody with a pre-test, post-test, and gain. Table 4B are only those students with a pre-test and a post-test. Sorry, Table 4, I believe I said, and a gain, and the outcome, whether it was a gain or not. Table 4 is limited to only those students with a pre-test and a post-test that was also a pre-post match. So for example, a reading of 15R was given as a pre-test and a 16R was given as a post-test versus a 15M and a 16R. Reading and math do not generate a pre-post match. At the same time, if you give a 15 reading for a pre-test and if you give a 13 reading for a post-test, that is also not a pre-test post-test match. It's not a paired accurate score according to NRS. It has to be at the same level or above. Okay, so Table 4B, we're performing miserably on our pre- and post-test outcomes. Is 4B displayed? Can you all see that? Thanks, Brenda. And the number completed level. We already know this, that we had no level completions from another report we ran earlier. It's when we looked at the very first one, scanned, pre-tested, post-tested, and gained. And we had 0 there. Okay. In this case, the student, as I said, had 74 hours of instruction and percentage completing level was 0. I don't know if any of you are experiencing deja vu, but when we ran the Federal Tables Monitor report, we did see the student on there. That student had 74 hours and had a post-test match, but did not have a gain. So if you're starting to wonder why this is familiar, it's because you've seen this already. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the profile template and entering my information in. I wish I had more information because then you could see how this plays out, but that's the way it is. So thanks, Brenda. Alright, so I had 0 and I had 1 in intermediate high. I didn't pre-test any in ESL. My hours of instruction were 0 except for intermediate high. I'm going to total my 2 columns first. I'm just going to use actually I'm going to use the same formula that I used over here. Just going to copy and paste it right in here. So I took F67 divided by E67, took my total hours of instruction divided by total enrolled who were pre and post tested. I actually like to leave that error in there because it instantly signals to me I had 0 students enrolled or pre and post in that category.
Yeah.
I'm going to copy that formula down. And I'm going to copy, and paste it into my ESL. If they had 0 students, I'm going to have 0 outcomes there too. And I'm going to add a formula in here for my percentage of students who were pre and post tested. And that's simply my pre-post divided by my total enrolled. So my pre-post tested by my total enrolled. I'm just going to copy those formulas down. Okay. So the error tells me I had nobody enrolled to begin with. Anything, if it was 0%, I know there was some student activity in that category. So that would be beginning and intermediate high. Just going to highlight those so I can see them better. Same with my first 4 ESL categories. I had nobody enrolled in those categories who pre-tested and post-tested, so my percentage is obviously going to be 0 there too. But because it gives me a numeric value rather than that formula error, I know I had students to begin with. So when you're looking in your student performance by program area, this is a good way to figure out who you're starting with. In this case, I'll reiterate, when I look at 2 students total enrolled are eligible for Table 4, my very first question to myself is, no, I had 318 walk through the door. Why do I only have 2 students enrolled? My second thought is, okay, I had 15 students who had a pre-test in this area. I'm sorry, I had 15 to walk in the door for ABE. 5 had a pre-test. Did I really only post-test 1? In this case, I guess I did. I post-tested 1. If you go down to ESL, so we know we had 303 students walk through the door in ESL, but only 21 are eligible for Table 4 reporting. If you remember when we looked at student characteristics at entry, 23 students were coded as not in labor force. So whatever, roughly 300 students have dropped off the tables just because they don't have a labor force status coded. And they're required to in order to be eligible for Table 4 reporting. So that's the first thing I'd look at. I mean, it was very different if they were. But that's not the training today, so. It's just an idea to help you evaluate the profiles that were handed out to you, and just to give you information on why those numbers may look very different than what you think they should be. There are a lot of factors that go into this. Okay, I think I'm going to stop for a minute, just get some feedback. Let's see, Amy, where does the Rolling Hills data come from? That's just a play database that CAS has created that you can go in and you can do whatever you want in the Rolling Hills database. It's reset every night at midnight, and So I go in and create myself, mess around, figure out what happened. Would you like me to show you how to get into the Rolling Hills database? Yeah, it is definitely fictional. Okay, I'd be glad to do that. Yep, Rolling Hills is really, I find it really useful because I obviously can't go in and play with your data, so okay. All you need to do for Rolling Hills is when you're logged into your agency, just go to the TE icon. Can you all see that before I proceed? You can? Okay, I guess we had a lag because I got 25 yeses there. Okay, 12, 4, okay. All right, thank you. So, upper left-hand corner to install. Then you, if you were already open, you open the TE icon. Go to disconnect. Find out or Rolling Hills. So sometimes to manage connections and select reset to defaults and then save and cancel. Here one. Okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit. The state agency is 4908. Is I'm also going to copy and paste this into the Adobe Connect chat.
I wish.
And the user coordinator one at Rolling Hills adulthighschool.org. And the password is just coordinator. And connect. Okay, so I typed that in the notes section. You might want to copy and paste that somewhere if you want to use that moving forward. I think what I'm going to do is schedule a second Adobe Connect Pro. This is a lot to process. And can you hear me now, Sandy? Can anyone hear me now? Hello? Thank you. Okay. In light of the issues we're having with Adobe Connect, we have another hour and a half of training to do, and I feel like I'm going to go ahead and reschedule for a week or so because we have a lot more to cover, and I want to make sure that the recording has come out so that you can at least hear the recording. If it hasn't, I'm going to have to redo the recording for this session as well. So I'm going to reschedule this for sometime next week, I guess, so we can move forward. So I want to get through all the program profiles. We're just having too many technical assistance issues today. It's like the set trainings are next week, so I might try for the 14th or 15th. Would Monday or Tuesday work better for people, I guess? I'll just put that out there.
Next week?
Probably, Nicole.
Did you ask about next week?
Oh, is that the third Tuesday already?
You can hear me.
Yes, we do have a teleconference on the 12th. And we also have one on the 19th. Let's see here. Next week's probably not a good week. We've got the high set trainings, and most of you will be out for those. We could do it Tuesday the 8th. I'll just wait for some feedback and see what you all think. Yeah, Nicole, I was looking at November. I'm sorry. Looks like we got Mondays and Tuesdays. More Tuesdays now. Days I can't do Tuesdays. Not next week. Okay. I kind of agree with Darla. Next week's push next. You guys have a lot going on. You have high set training and grants due. Yeah, I know, Marcel. Okay, I'll move it 1 week out then. Okay. So, how about Wednesday afternoon, the 16th? And we'll just plan to go from, I'll just schedule it from 2 to 4. And then I'll record it and make sure the recording's available. Hopefully this recording turned out well, so I'll get that posted too. Let's just plan on Wednesday the 16th. That gives you guys an extra week to catch up. And okay, that's what I'm going to plan on. Sorry about all the technical difficulties today. I just was beyond my control, and Nicole, if you have questions, feel free to call. I'll be glad to answer. Any questions? Okay. All right, so hopefully this gives you an idea of how you monitor your programs, to monitor your data integrity. Honestly, I would encourage you to fill out your program profiles. It's going to teach you a lot about how to run data, how to extract data, how to find data integrity issues, and then how to evaluate your program. Are your students being pre- and post-tested? In the case of Rolling Hills today, it very well could be that as a coordinator, every single person in the program had been pre-tested and post-tested, but because I only coded 23 with an employment goal, those are the only 23 that are eligible for Table 4. So all of these things, I find them useful personally, just for an array of issues. But I think if you become comfortable with some of these processes, it's going to teach you a lot about your program and how to be more proactive. I'll run that by Phyllis. Ann said this would be more helpful face-to-face where we could practice with our own data. And I agree, Adobe Connect Pro is just not conducive to watching and running in your own data and listening at the same time. Should I move this to the 17th? Because we've got lots of people not available on the 16th. As a coordinator, Adobe Connect. Okay, so your choices, I guess, now are Monday the 14th or Friday the 18th. We just have a lot of people who can't join the 16th. Monday the 14th or Friday the 18th in the afternoon. Okay, we have some Mondays. Marcel, is the NCWE meeting the Monday or Friday? I hadn't planned to, Sandy. I don't know if Alex has anything to say about that. Okay, I'm going to schedule for the 14th then. Maybe it's too heavy for a Friday afternoon anyway. I'm not sure if Alex is still on. Let me check here. I don't think he is. I guess I'll leave that for Alex, Sandy. Honestly, the first document the Word document that I sent to you all today, that was directly from the PIACC fact sheet that I was putting to speed. And, oh, okay. Well, yeah, it was, I didn't discuss what PIAC is, and I didn't go through that. And I wanted you to see how we're running that so that you can be prepared to run those numbers and share them with your stakeholders, your administrators, legislators, anyone that might ask you questions. So, okay, thanks for all your patience, everybody, today. I will send out a meeting request for the 14th for a couple hours, and we will finish going through this. And then in the meantime, I'll check the recording and make sure it came out if it didn't. Thanks, everyone, for your patience. Have a great day.